from the ancient times, people were interested in many different things. Some of those things were funny, and some of those things were serious. And one of the serious things which people were interested in was the death. And actually, we can't still make a clear definition of death. From the medical perspective, we can say a person dies when his brain dies. But still, not that long ago I figured out that there are many more applications of death, and that death is generally inside of our culture. I knew it from this book, and I'm going to share with you some interesting things about how the death culture was developing through years and what is happening with this now. There are some special people. They are called social anthropologists, and they are studying different social things which happen. One of these things is death, and those people are studying and researching on how people are dying, how the burial services work, how the financial commerce is going on. Those topics somehow appear to be very important. Why? Well, let's start from the beginning. There is a common opinion that death is kind of a taboo topic in our society. But let's think a bit about it. Actually, we can see many deaths every day. We can see many old people, because the amount of old people in the world is increasing. We can see also many dying people. And we see also many dead people. And mostly we can see them in the newscasts. Tonight, 13 people died in a terrible accident in the Western Railroad. Wars, massive attacks, catastrophes. All these things influence our life dramatically. And the average person experiences death. An average American experiences death 16,000 times per year by TV. And here comes a big dilemma between two things. This amazingly big amount of catastrophes and deaths happening in the world, and some little but very important tragedies happening in his personal life. There are many things which are changing nowadays about this topic. For example, those changes apply to the industry, to the funeral industry and burial industry. I will share with you some examples of what happens. For example, the ritual business invented some digital forms of memory. For example, there are some urns for dust where you put not only the dust of the person you loved, but you also put a USB with digital memories, with photos, audios, videos, and maybe even some reminders about which events you experienced together. It's like a Facebook pop-up. Hello. A year ago, an important thing between you and your friend happened. Remember it. The second interesting thing which I wanted to share about with you is death tourism. It's the tourism among the dark places. Those are the places of history, of big historical battles, etc. For example, the reconstruction of Borodino is one of those things. And the third very modern thing about that is that you can actually do whatever with the person who was important to you. For example, there are some special firms and services who can make a vinyl CD from the dust of your dear person. They can also make many bowls, glasses, or other subjects which you can use somehow in an appropriate way for you personally. And the thing which I personally value a lot, I don't want it to sound funny, but I really like the idea of putting a dust into a box and making a tree out of it. I would really honestly like to become a tree someday. There is also a thing which relates to digital immortality. The digital immortality is a term which was invented by anthropologists to express how a person can stay alive for a longer period of time. A person experiences not the body things, but the brain things, and his brain lives, and there are also companies which can make your social medias live. And I wanted to say that actually talking about death is much of talking about life, because we are talking here about immortality and even about tourism. So let's think about death as a thing which is important for us, for our culture and for our life.